This is the second of 3 Modern Warfare 3 reviews I'm doing. I did one that was dedicated on the single player experience. This particular video will be dedicated to Zombies mode, and I will be saving the best for last multiplayer that will be coming at some point in the future. If you played Zombies mode before, the revamped Zombies mode that came out during Call of Duty Cold War, then a lot of this will look familiar to you. But it takes a spin with the DMZ stuff that launched last year, with a lot of mission-based stuff and NPCs and looting where you could sell random knickknacks to acquire additional money and side missions to take on and that sort of thing. And I think in that respect, this is a very interesting take on zombies. There's definitely some progression issues that I think are emergent. Now, the game just came out, and I think just like we saw with previous iterations of Call of Duty, the developers are in fact listening. I do suspect a lot of these criticisms that I have right now may change in the future because they'll probably patch it and fix it. And the Call of Duty that you play at launch versus the Call of Duty that you play the day before the next Call of Duty comes out are 2 very different games. So keep that in mind. This is kind of an early look at that first kind of review of what exists today. That said, I'm not making excuses for poor design choices. I'm not making excuses for bugs or development issues. If they are, in fact, in this game, I will be talking about them. But just understand the idea that this game does change over time. One of the first things that I noticed in terms of progression, if you remember in the old Call of Duty Zombies mode in Cold War, you could slowly upgrade your perks, your colas that you drank, your kind of passive abilities over time could become stronger by doing subsequent runs. Here, a drink is just a drink. You can't upgrade it to a better drink. It is what it is. And right now, because of the fact that it's all on one map and you don't loop over, there's 3 zones that start off as easy, medium, and hard. Hard being towards the center of the map. Right now, the progression loop is basically contained to this single instance. When you finish this instance, yes, you do bring in the gear that you had before, so you can bring in your insured guns like DMZ. You could bring in your improved lethals that you may have gotten from previous runs like the Symbol Monkey, and you could bring in like a bigger vest or a bigger rucksack. But in terms of your overall kit, you start with a level 1 gun. It's not pack-a-punch. You start off with the basic perks. You have to go find them, that sort of thing. And I think that right now the progression is limited to that. So you beat the level, you exfil, mission complete, good job. When you come back, you are essentially naked, minus those few carryover upgrades that I said, and you do it again. So in terms of what the progression of it is what you want it to be. There is a mission-based system in here, just like in DMZ, that requires you to go off and do things. They do not seem nearly as long and frustrating as the DMZ missions were, at least for now. I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in the actual unlocking of said missions. But as of right now, they're much more basic. It wasn't like some of the stuff towards the end of DMZ was just ridiculous to the point that it wasn't even worth doing. It required multiple playthroughs in which you didn't die and everything went perfect, and you had to take items from one map to another and then bring them back to the first map. It was not fun, and I don't think it was very well thought out. This doesn't seem to be as convoluted, which is great. You do get, obviously, your daily challenges that are of significant importance now due to the new armory system and requiring you to do armory unlocks. Additionally, you do get a lot of experience, at least, with your guns. Right now, I think the Battle Pass experience and your overall character experience are definitely limited. I suspect that's something they will patch in the future. I played this entire 45-minute mode of zombies. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, don't worry. I played this entire 45-minute mode of zombies, and I did not even receive a single level towards my character level, and I was already maxed out in Battle Pass, but I could just tell that it wasn't very good. So that is a bit frustrating as well. And I know I'm starting off with a lot of some of the criticisms of this, but I think they're warranted. And it seems like an unforced error on their part that people are going to spend 45 minutes playing a mode and receive not a lot of progression towards things they want to do. And I think that's wrong. Yes, you will get amazing gun experience because you're going to be using a gun primarily. You know, you're going to level up that one gun. You're going to invest in that one gun, especially if you want to progress into the harder difficulties. You're not going to have enough money to upgrade everything, so you're going to pick your favorite weapon, and that's going to be your weapon of choice for the entire run. So you'll get a lot of experience that way, but everything else is kind of lacking right now. What is Zombies mode? Well, it's just like what we had before, except with that DMZ flare. So you basically spawn in with you and I think it's 7 or 8 other squads. So there's a lot of other human players on this map. The difference is you're all friendly, which is nice. So you're not going to have to worry about that PvP element that you saw in DMZ. If you want to have a fun PvE experience with your friends, this is definitely the mode to do it, because other than the NPC soldiers and zombies and crazy mutations that attack you, you don't have to worry about getting ganked by some tryhard who's waiting to pick you off at the exfil, or if you get the great weapon cache or whatever. That doesn't exist. What you will be doing is going around on a variety of missions that are scattered throughout the map. You'll be taking on various contracts and completing them for money. Contracts are very similar to contracts that you've seen in previous Call of Duty games. Escort the payload, take out the target, unlock a safe, clear a safe house, that sort of thing. Each of those will reward you with some money. The money in of itself doesn't do a whole lot, but you're also given a rift. Now, the rift you open is basically your loot, your goodie box. It could be loot inside. And the loot could be really good, or it could be not so good. It's a total crapshoot. Sometimes the loot is something that you need to extract in order to unlock. The ability to craft a special energy drink before you come into a match, for example. Sometimes it's something like a medium backpack or a kill streak, or the ability to change the rarity of your weapon on the fly. Those aren't nearly as exciting or rewarding. And it's totally random what you'll get. In my experience, doing the harder contracts in the 3rd or 2nd tier doesn't necessarily skew the loot table. I think that's something they're going to have to address going forward. I think right now it's quantity over quality. I think the faster you can burn through contracts, the better chance you're going to find good stuff. At least my experience, and your mileage may vary. Again, it's total RNG, so you really don't even know what you're going to find. But you just want to keep chipping away at those contracts. So you're going to get money, which is important. You're going to get the little rift box, which could have some really cool stuff in it as well. Money is used to, as with all Call of Duties, to go to the buy zone to upgrade your backpack, or to buy a kill streak, or a gas mask, or a self-revive kit. Money is primarily used in Zombies, at least in my opinion, for the Pack-a-Punch, which radically changes your weapon significantly to a higher tier. And that allows you to shoot faster and harder, which allows you to progress deeper into the 3 layers of zombie mode, which is nice because you can skirt around level 1 forever. But if you want to get in there and see some of the more unique enemies, not necessarily take on more unique challenges that I've seen yet, really where you want to end up, though, is going to be that 3rd zone. That's where you're going to have the most fun. But it's going to take you a while to get there. That's why they give you 45 minutes in the match. Take your time, kind of ramp up the machine, get your initial missions done, and that sort of thing. I could see criticism for people saying that the progression loop is a little frustrating, because every single time you can't come in with a pre-packed weapon, that you have to kind of start from scratch and work your way through the ranks. I understand the pros and cons of that system. Personally, it's very similar to what I experienced in Cold War, so it doesn't bother me as much. But I've seen people feel like, hey, I don't have enough time to level up by the time I'm actually there. You know, the map's ending, and I've seen the opposite, where people say it's almost too much time and they feel overwhelmed. They're not really sure what to do. So I've seen it both ways, and I suspect, as with everything, this will be addressed at some point in the future, one way or another. You can go in solo. I don't recommend it. As a matter of fact, the first video I recorded, which I am not showing here, was me running around solo and getting knocked early and being frustrated because I lost my contraband and my insured slot weapons, which was really frustrating. You're going to want to go in with a crew And if you have a lot of friends and you can figure out how to all get into the same match together, it's even more fun because you will be an essentially insane kill squad. It is a lot of fun. Firepower really does kind of win the war here. There's a lot of moments where you feel like you're just being zerged, as in enemies are pouring out of the woodwork, left, right, up, down, and it's going to be up to you to just go ham and just basically shoulder to shoulder with your friend, blind fire into wave after wave of zombies, and those are fun, intense moments, but you absolutely need friends to do it. If you're doing that on your own, good luck. You're not going to make it. This is really not designed or level balanced or skewed for the single player experience. So if you're doing it, it's because you're just wanting to be Rambo, but understand it's going to be a lot harder for you, and you're not necessarily going to get any great perks for doing it on your own, other than the satisfaction of going in and maybe knocking out a daily or two, or dropping in, grabbing something on the level 1 area, and then getting the hell out. So there's that. Other things to consider when playing this mode: because of the armory system, you will get a new set of dailies here. So you'll have your regular dailies that apply to multiplayer and to Warzone and that sort of thing. You'll also get a set of dailies that are unique to zombies. So I like the fact that if you want to progress your experience in Call of Duty, and you want to continue to level up your battle pass, and you want to continue to level up your armory and your gun rankings, you can solely do that with zombies. That was something they added in Cold War that I thought was very, very good, that gave you the ability to kind of just play that track if you desired. And since all of your experience and weapons and all that stuff really carry over from one thing to another, there's really no disadvantage in playing any mode you like to continue to progress your account, which is good. I don't like to be forced into playing a mode I don't want to play, and thankfully you don't have that here, which is really, really cool. So I like that. In terms of zombie AI, and in terms of sheer kind of difficulty spikes, or in some of the zerging, as I mentioned before, this game does have some very uncharacteristic lulls to it. There will be times you're walking around aimlessly for moments, waiting and waiting for something to happen, and it never does. Walking around basically aimlessly through buildings, completely alone, not a zombie in sight. And then there's times where you're going to be frantically running through houses and frantically shooting your way through hordes and hordes of zombies. I think the game has predetermined spawn points for the zombies. You'll often see them climbing up out of the ground or jumping off of rooftops. They do spawn in different places. They seem to get stuck at choke points, and that is both insanely terrifying, frustrating, and funny all at once, because if you can set up these kill zones, you will rack up literally hundreds of zombie kills in mere moments because of how fast they are pouring out of the woodwork, so to speak. Then there are times when you're just going to run around and find nothing. So I think something that should be addressed in a future update is going to be the density of zombies in this mode, where they spawn, how they spawn. Now, it's hard to control the AI at distance, and the human AI, the other NPC soldiers that exist in the world, they are not necessarily as much of a threat. They do tend to forget to fight zombies and basically just stand there and at times become just fodder for zombies to attack, which I think is kind of humorous. But I think the key with the human players, that, you know, the NPCs that exist in this world, it's trying to design this kind of three-way fight. The AI system doesn't always do the best job of supporting those engagements, and at times you'll see zombies at range just stand there as you aimlessly snipe them over and over and over at range, and they do not react at all. Then there are times where you will snipe a zombie and all the other zombies in the immediate area will run at you. And if you're on a rooftop, it's horrifying. You see them all pouring into the ground floor of the building you're on. And if you wait in just a few seconds, they'll bust through the top on the balcony and they'll begin to attack you that way, which is really, really cool, because it does show that there has been some thought and pathing. That doesn't always happen as much as I would like, but when those moments do happen, I promise they're memorable and you will not forget them. Because it is fun to put claymores and stuff behind you and prox mines and essentially just like wait. And sure enough, you'll just start getting hit markers and you're thinking, uh-oh, here they come. And they will come. And they will come in just sheer amounts of waves. But the best way really is to go through those missions. Missions do seem to spawn the biggest density of zombies. They will attack you in waves from multiple directions. Sometimes if it's more of a human element, the humans will attack you from waves in directions. And that's when you really kind of get the us versus the world mentality. I think that's the much more core zombie experience that a lot of us wanted. While the open world is fun and I do enjoy it, and I do enjoy running around and collecting loot and finding all these cool little treasures and gimmicks and Easter eggs, and there's a lot in here, by the way. It is amazing. I do think that the missions are really the most fun, where you're going to just smoke waves and waves and waves of enemies and get some of those cool rewards from the items that you unlock, and then getting those rift stashes that I mentioned earlier with a chance to get some permanent unlock, which is really, really cool. This game does also feature wonder weapons. They have made a return. Right now there's just 2 of them. Actually, is there 3? There's a third one. I'm sorry. There's 3 right now. There will be more later. They always add more. They're fun. They're hard to find. They're very, very rare. It's not like they just spawn on the map in a certain place. You have to get lucky with buying them out of a crate. But when you get them, they radically do change the gameplay, which is a lot of fun. And unfortunately, you can't take them out with you when you leave, just like in Cold War. So if you manage to get one, use it extensively, because it may be a while before you get another. And I think that, you know, they're fun. I mean, they are overpowered, I'm not going to lie. But I think they're balanced in the sense that you usually have a long shooting animation or a long reload time or something like that. But since you're not playing against other humans, I'm not saying it's pay to win, but that balancing doesn't bother me as much. The fact that you're going to have some balancing that might be inconsistent, I think that's just perfectly fine. You can have crazy weapons that break the game, because why not? Who cares? I will say, kind of in closing, that I think this is a good attempt at DMZ's crossover. I'm curious. I feel like DMZ is dead. I feel like they took the bones of DMZ and said, okay, we're done with this. We're going to port over the best of DMZ into zombies, and we're going to kind of start there with our base. And I think that's the approach that they've been taking. It doesn't bother me. I think I've had my fill with DMZ, so I'm excited to try something new. I mean, obviously, DMZ exists if you want to go back and play it in Modern Warfare 2. It's still there, perfectly viable, because of all the crazy cross progression they have. If you haven't yet had a chance to level up the base Modern Warfare 2 guns, you still could go back and play Modern Warfare 2, level them up. That progress does carry over. Obviously, the guns aren't retroactive, so you can't take the new Modern Warfare 3 guns back into Modern Warfare 2. But the point is, there's still some progression to be made. Right now, the Battle Pass does carry over between the two. So if you're still chipping away at something on Modern Warfare 2 and you really like playing Shipment, well, go play Shipment and grind your Battle Pass that way. I suspect after this kind of entry season, the Season 0 essentially, we will get into a much more fleshed out experience in a lot of these things. I think you'll see overhauls. I think you'll see new maps. I think you'll see new challenges. I think you'll see a continued progression. But the structure that has been put into this game is amazing. I love the verticality in this. I love the level design in this. It's fun, original. It does set a gloom and doom kind of despair with all the blood on the walls and burnt up buildings and that sort of thing. So I think the ambiance is absolutely on point. And jumping in and playing with your friends and just BSing while you run around and smoke hundreds and hundreds of zombies is a really, really fun thing to do. So DMZ/Zombies Mode 2.0, whatever you want to call it, definitely a thumbs up for me. It needs some polish, but I think it's a pretty good start. So this will wrap up my thoughts on this. I will be putting out a final review at some point in the future on the multiplayer experience. And that, to me, is groundbreaking in so many ways. If I was to sum up single player, I would say definitely very poor. I would say that Zombies is better than average. And I would say that multiplayer is some of the best I have ever played. So I have to wait for that video. It'll be coming in about another week or so, I think. I need to get some more armory unlocked so I can explain it a bit better. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this long-form review of Zombies. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.